a vocal group of trans activists known as the Transexual Menace visit Washington DC to protest against the hate crimes trans people face, while advocating for equality in the workplace, in healthcare access, and in public spaces, recognising that the transphobia present in society stems from ignorance. Delving further into the group's causes and concerns, different members reveal their coming out stories, their transition journeys, their sex lives, and their support networks, revealing that true trans solidarity is ironclad. This is Transexual Menace, or also known as The Transexual Menace, a documentary by filmmaker and queer rights activist Rosa von Praunheim. While shot and produced in the mid-90s, Transexual Menace remains a progressive and empathetic, all-encompassing portrait of the trans community's struggles, challenges, joys and progress. The film delves into the mental health benefits of gender-affirming care, perks of sex positivity while also recognising the fetishization of trans women, the necessary criticism of transphobic hate crimes, as well as recognition for gender-diverse folk who transcend the traditional gender binary. Despite its modest runtime, Transexual Menace is a detailed and illuminating documentary showcasing the highs, the lows, the intimate and the journey ahead for the trans community. Challenges on the horizon that unfortunately seem to remain unchanged over the course of nearly 30 years since the documentary's production. Rosa von Praunheim's directorial and interviewing approach is one of empathy, curiosity and care, understanding that, especially during the mid-90s, but unfortunately even still today, trans people face significant stigmatization, misinformation lobbied surrounding our existences, and a thorough hatred based within and unwilling to empathize. Transexual Menace strives to dismantle the assumptions and accusations surrounding trans existences that still persist to this day, such as the demonization of gender-affirming care. While numerous peer-reviewed studies and medical resources cite the mental health improvement of providing gender-affirming care to those who seek it, Transexual Menace approaches from a personal perspective, interviewing trans people who have felt its benefits. For example, a trans man expresses how much happier he feels in his body now he's been able to transition, experience an ease within himself and his place in the world as people use his masculine pronouns in the workplace, or how he's now able to completely change his wardrobe into the masculine presenting clothing he's always felt more comfortable in. Another example of the benefits of gender-affirming care is told from the perspective of a gay trans man named Max, who shares his coming out story to a transgender support group, expressing the weight he felt lifted from his shoulders, eventually learning that his partner is also planning to transition into a man too. While the process of adapting to somebody's transition can sometimes take more time for people to adjust to, and Max even admits that he felt awful needing that extra time to accept his partner as a man, despite his own transition journey. After all, we're not usually taught of the processes of socially and physically transitioning in the same way we may learn about puberty. Eventually, the two men have grown closer, their love fonder, as Max expresses that both he and his husband live more actively, engaging more in their community, and live much happier lives. From the personal experiences shared in this film, access to gender-affirming care has and always will be essential for the trans community who seek it. And by restricting and demonizing this access is to punish an already deeply marginalized community. Transexual Menace is a film that gives recognition to the trans sex work community too, striving to destigmatize sex work, sexuality and sex positivity. While the film recognises that trans bodies have been fetishised, creating a circumstance where sex workers own the means of their financial gain in a society that places value and survival on wealth, as well as how sex workers can be vulnerable due to when they are mistreated or become the victims of violent hate crimes, Rosa von Praunheim's film also illuminates the positivity of autonomy over our own bodies, from sex work to the decisions surrounding surgery. While a focus on surgery towards the trans community reeks of a cisnormative invasive attitude regarding our bodies, To put it simply, it's pretty rude to ask strangers about their genitals and what they plan to do with them. This is a documentary that recognises the validity of trans people who don't seek out surgical developments and enhancements, while also respecting the decisions of trans folk who do wish to have certain operations, embracing bodily positivity at different stages of transition. If you're a trans person, you may have strong feelings regarding your own body and how you plan on tackling dysphoria if you experience dysphoria. And this expression of embracing bodily autonomy, taking control of our own bodies and what we do with them, can be a significant aspect of trans existence. Furthermore, Transexual Menace is a documentary that puts to rest the transphobic notion that gender-diverse folk didn't exist decades ago. They most certainly did. The recognition of gender-diverse people comes in the form of a non-binary speaker who refers to themselves as gender-ambiguous, who expresses their joy over being their truest self, while also expressing concerns for their own safety due to the reactions of an ignorant world unwilling to allow people to simply be. With the inclusion of this interview, Rosa von Praunheim educates a cis-normative audience on the spectrum of gender identity and the diversity of the trans community. As trans folk, this is like preaching to the choir by today's standards, but in the 90s, this is essential and respectful representation of gender diversity that, even today, still goes underrepresented. The existence of the Transexual Menace activist group stems from the necessity to overcome hatred, prejudice, and the ongoing threat to trans existences from the rising number of hate crimes to the increased legislative attacks on trans people, which has motivated the re-emergence of the Transexual Menace group once again. The intent of the group's protests and advocacy is to push for more societal acceptance of the trans community, so that we can thrive as business owners, live peacefully within our families, and so that our existences don't result in being murdered. While a lot of the concerns surrounding the protection of trans rights still persist today due to an increasing amount of normalised transphobia, Rosa von Praunheim's mid-90s documentary is progressive even by today's standards, when it celebrates trans people thriving within their own bodies, thriving as business owners, and thriving in the demonstration of strong communal solidarity. In conclusion, Rosa von Praunheim's Transexual Menace, while a tad outdated at times due to certain language used, after all it was the mid-90s when some of this language was more commonplace, the overall documentary still remains a progressive, illuminating expression of the concerns, worries, celebrations, the progress made and the progress yet to be for the trans community. An intersectional exploration of how trans existences are never truly linear, and how nobody's transness is completely alike. Transexual Menace demands we stand tall and proud of how far we've come, because together we thrive. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporter Gil and Jared Spears of Concessions, as well as my super tier Patreon supporters Spoiledzilla and Audio Casey.